Summit County Court of Calvin pleases again in session. Honorable Christa Rajendram presiding.
Thank you. You may be seated. You may call your next witness.
Christa.
All right. Ma'am, if you'd raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat right there in the witness chair. Once you're seated, if you'll remove your mask, keep your voice up, and speak into the microphone, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am. If you would please introduce yourself to the jury by telling them your full name and then spell your last name for the court reporter, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Christa Rajendram, Rajendram.
And how are you employed?
Employed at the State Fire Marshal Forensic Lab as the laboratory supervisor.
Say that last thing again.
State Fire Marshal Forensic Lab as the laboratory supervisor.
Oh, supervisor. Okay. And how long have you been with the State Fire Lab?
27 years.
And in order to have that job, what kind of background training do you need?
I have a PhD degree in chemistry from North Dakota State University. And also I have attended fire debris analysis classes presented by National Center for Forensic Science. And also I attend symposium and workshops that's provided by national and local forensic organizations.
And as a supervisor, how long have you been the supervisor?
At least 20 years.
Okay, quite a while. And previously the jury heard from Molly Jordan. Does Molly work with you?
Yes.
And you supervise her then?
Yes.
And how long has she been there with you?
Close to 10 years.
Okay. Are there others in the lab that you supervise?
Yes.
Okay. How many people do you supervise?
Two criminalists.
Okay. And as a forensic scientist in the state lab, what types of things do you do in your duties as a forensic scientist, not necessarily as a supervisor?
Yes, I mostly perform fire debris analysis on the evidence that's received, and I also analyze explosive analysis and identify unknowns and meth lab related chemicals.
All right, so Ms. Jordan already went through the process used to test accelerants on items. Would it be accurate to say that the procedure she uses is the same procedure that you would use when you do the same type testing?
Yes, we do the same procedure for the medical liquid analysis, yes.
All right. And I would assume as a supervisor for the last 20 years, you probably trained her on how to do that procedure.
Yes.
Okay. Let me direct your attention specifically to a fire that took place in May of 2017, where you then given some items to test for accelerants.
Yes.
Okay. And after doing the testing, did you then memorialize your results in any way?
Yes.
And how do you do that?
After the analysis, a report is prepared and then it's tech reviewed by another criminalist and then admin reviewed, and then the report is sent to the investigator.
And in this particular fire that took place on May 15, 2017, how many reports did you do?
2.
Okay. So let me start with the first report, which I marked as State's Exhibit number 117. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Thank you. I'm going to show you that 117. Take a look at that and see if you recognize that.
Yes.
And what is that?
It is the report prepared for the first 20 samples that was submitted for that case.
And if you look on the screen there, is that the report that I just showed you?
Yes.
Okay. So if the jury were to get this report, first of all, what's the date of the report?
The report was created on May 18th of 2017.
Okay. And in regards to the items that were submitted to you, you said it's the first 20, and it looks like it's split into 2 sections of 10. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. And they were submitted on different days.
Yes.
So let's talk about the first 10 items. Would those items have been tested separately from the ones 11 through 20?
Yes, it was.
The first 10 items, in reading through them, appear to be from a location. Is that fair?
Yes.
As they are described?
Yes.
Okay. And those first 10 items, the request for testing was for accelerants for all 10 of those items. Is that correct?
Yes, test for ignitable liquid.
Ignitable liquid. Okay. And you performed the same test that Molly Jordan would have performed on the other items we had previously identified in this case, correct?
Yes.
And once you did the testing on these 10 items, then do you, I guess, strike that. Let me. You're not familiar with where the items come from, other than what's told to you on the submission sheet. Is that fair?
Right. The description on the report is given by the investigator.
Okay. And so you received the items. You don't know the significance or the lack of significance of any of these items.
That's correct.
And so basically, you take the items, you perform the test, and you report it here on your report.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about the first 10 items. We've had prior testimony about where they did come from. Can you tell us, were you able to make a determination whether there was an ignitable liquid or substance on these items that were submitted?
Yes.
And what can you tell us about items 1 through 10?
Yeah, items 1 through 5 and 9 did not have an ignitable liquid,
All right.
or no ignitable liquid was detected.
All right. And so that would leave us with 6, 7, 8, and 10. Is that fair?
Yes.
And what results did you get on those items?
On items 6, 7, and 10, there was gasoline, and then number 8 had medium petroleum distillate.
All right. And we had some previous testimony on what medium petroleum distillate is. However, on your report, you had attached an additional page and it gives us some information about that. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. So when you say a medium petroleum distillate, on this next page that's attached to your report, what does this tell us?
Under the medium, and then if you take the petroleum distillate, it says charcoal starters or paint thinners. It gives examples of the medium petroleum distillate.
All right, so we go to the medium here, and then petroleum distillate, so it'd be this area here that we're looking at, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last page, just to be thorough, is basically your CV. Is that fair?
Yes.
Or, in other words, your resume, so to speak.
Yes.
In regards to the second set of items, 11 through 20, what, if any, results did you get from those tests?
There was no ignitable liquid from items 11 through 20.
Okay. So you were not able to find anything on any of those items?
That's correct.
If there was testimony that some of those items had been hit on, so to speak, by a canine, would that surprise you?
No.
All right. And is that something that happens in your field?
Yes, I have seen some that was hit, but we don't find or detect any ignitable liquid.
All right. So the dog does a kind of a presumptive test, is that fair?
Yes, in phyto debris analysis field, it's expected for the instrument analysis than the dog detection.
Okay. So this is a confirmation test versus the dog.
Beg your pardon?
In other words, if the dog hits, then they further test it to confirm the dog's hit. So to speak.
Yes,
All right. It's not the other way around. You don't test and then the dog confirms what you found.
that's correct.
Okay. The results that you reported in your report dated May 18th, 2017, are all these results within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what I marked as State's Exhibit number 118. Tell me if you recognize this.
Yes.
And what is that?
This is the second report prepared for items 22 to 33 that was submitted on May 18th or May 19th.
Okay. And all these items, 22 through 33, did you perform the same analysis on those tests, on those items?
Yes, and there were 3 liquids, and in the liquid case, we just do a 1% dilution in the solvent. That was already mentioned, I don't know.
Okay. And so on this report, items 31, 32, and 33, it says wholly. What does that mean?
No analysis was performed on those 3, or no analysis requested.
All right, and I just so we can clarify in case the jury gets this document. So 31 appears to be plastic, it says plastic lighter fluid container. You don't test the container necessarily, do you?
If that was the only container submitted, yes. But in this case, I think the investigator took the liquid out of those 3 containers. And the numbers 28 to 30 are from those 3 containers.
Okay, so if you found an empty container and wanted to know what was in it, you might swab it or test it to see what was in it.
Yes,
But these apparently had liquids in them already, so they just extracted the liquid in a vial and gave you the liquid.
yes,
All right, and so you tested that, but not the containers.
yes,
Okay. And so that you said 28, 29, and 30 correspond with 31, 32, and 33.
yes,
Okay. And these items, again, you do not have any knowledge, particularly other than what they indicated to you in the submission sheet, as to where they came from, who they belong to, anything of that nature.
that's correct.
All right. And so did you perform, you said you performed the same analysis and testing on these items, and were you able to reach a conclusion on these items?
Yes.
And what, if any, conclusion did you reach?
Items 26, 28, and 30 had gasoline.
All right.
And then item 29 had medium petroleum distillate.
Okay. And is that on the second page?
Yes,
Right here. Okay. And then the rest of the items, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 27 had no results, or you had their results, but you had no finding of any kind of ignitable fluid or liquid.
That's correct. No ignitable detected on those.
Okay. And so of those items, item number 26 specifically, which is indicated on your report as fire debris bag with gray sneakers from trash can office 1370 Hillcrest. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And item number 26, you indicated came back with gasoline detected.
yes.
I'm going to show you what's been previously identified as State's Exhibit number 119. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
Only with the barcode, which has the case number and the item number, and then my initials after the analysis.
All right. And the item number on here is what?
Number 26.
So this 26 corresponds with 26 on the report that you have, right?
Yes,
So these are the shoes that had the gasoline on them.
yes.
All of the opinions you've given and rendered here today in regards to State's Exhibit 118 on the report dated May 22nd, 2017, are those, all those opinions within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Riley?
Ma'am, my name's Scott Riley, along with Joe Gorman. We represent Stanley Ford. I'm going to ask you just very few questions. If you don't understand them, let me know. I'll try to rephrase, okay? Is that fair?
Yes,
Are you able, in your testing, to determine different brands of gasoline?
no,
You have no test to determine different brands of gasoline.
no,
Ms. Jordan testified that she said that there were about 400 different elements in gasoline. Is that a fair statement?
yes, it's more than 100, yeah. I don't know how many, but it's a lot more components.
And I think she also testified that different companies like BP versus Shell add different additives to their gasoline. Are you aware of that?
I know we don't have any way of comparing gasoline for either brands or even with two different liquids because it could evaporate and lose some components. So they do add different additives. It depends on where it's produced, not the,
Which refinery it was produced at,
Yes.
rather which company sells it.
yes.
So there's no way for you to tell the difference between gasoline found in my backyard versus the gasoline found at Mr. Gorman's house, correct?
Yes, we can compare the components and it might be similar,
Okay.
but we can't say it is the same because it could be from a different gas source and it might look similar.
All right, so maybe it's a poorly worded question. You can do tests to determine whether gasoline samples have similar components, correct?
Yes.
Was that done in this case?
No, because none of them were liquids that can be compared. You know, it wasn't fresh gas.
Were you provided, well, strike that. On your report, which was labeled 117, do you still have that? Okay. If you would look at items 11 through 20, you
Yes.
would agree with me that those were all items that were presented to you from either Patrick Boggs or an address at 645 Hazen Street, with the exception of number 15, correct?
Yes,
And you were never provided with a pair of shoes from Mr. Boggs or Hazen Avenue to test, correct?
these are the only items that I received for testing.
And it doesn't include a pair of shoes, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Judge, that's all I have.
Mr. Lorenzi?
Help me, Judge, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You're excused. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So if you can exit right out this door. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude our testimony for the day. I do want to talk a little bit about next week. So again, we're not going to do a half day. We are going to take Thursday the 16th off. I believe, after discussions with counsel, that the testimony will be concluded next week. I don't know if it's going to be Wednesday, and I don't know if it's going to be Friday, but it's going to be one of those 2 days, presumably. We'll have a bleed over day on Monday the 20th if need be, but right now we're planning on closing arguments and jury instructions on the 20th of September. I said August, of September. That'll be Monday. Now you see, when I gave you the map, or the calendar, I only went Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I don't know how long your deliberations will take once you begin deliberating. So you should plan on the 23rd and the 24th, but there won't be any testimony on those days. That's why that was kind of left open. But if you have not reached a verdict, we're not going to stop. You're going to keep going until you reach a verdict, okay? So I just want to give everybody an idea of where we're going. We've stayed on track, and so we will most likely conclude with testimony next week, all right? So I am going to remind you, as I have, concerning your conduct during this case. It's, again, important for you to be fair and attentive throughout the trial. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. This includes your family, friends, and the media. You must not post or read anything about this case on the internet or any electronic device, including your cell phone and or computers. Any such discussion, if discovered, could lead to a mistrial and would severely compromise the party's right to a fair trial. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. Do not form or express an opinion on this case until it's finally been submitted to you. Then we will adjourn. Leave your notepads upside down on your chairs. Have a great weekend, and we'll see everybody back on Monday. And we're going to start at 9. Thank you. We're adjourned.
All rise, please.